Hey, hello there. How are you? I hope you're having a good day. If you're not, say, I choose to have a good day, because I sure am. These times are almost a paradox for me. Leaning into everything that shows up, and some of my what I'd call past nightmares of things not working out, of things not being in alignment with me, of drawing in the wrong people or the wounded people or whatever, were all facets of me that were showing up for me to see them. And I long for relationship. I've talked about this many times, and I see women, because I'm attracted to women, that are longing for the same thing, relationship. They want connection, they want depth, they want the fairy tale. Because we were all indoctrinated to that right from the beginning, through Disney, the princesses and Cinderellas and Snow Whites and on all these things. These are programs that are initiated into our mind when our brains are not completely formed yet. We're like little sponges soaking up what's right, what's normal, and we're given a program. And that program is pretty simple. It's one that serves a purpose outside of ourselves. That each little girl and each little boy is meant to grow up, be a good girl, good boy, go to school, be obedient, listen to the government, listen to their parents, and then once they're old enough to become adult, then get an education, get a good job, find a partner, have kids, get a house, and live happily ever after. Oh, and add marriage in there when you get a partner. That's all part of the software, the program that says this is what you're going to do. But there's some lies in a lot of that. And it creates right from the beginning a lot of codependence, that we have to trust our government, and we have to listen to everything our teachers said, and we have to listen to our parents and accept them exactly as they are, and do things that aren't always for our highest good. So let's add on to that some of the other programs that are going with it, what a man does, what a woman does, what our polarity is. But that's been really egregiously twisted. There was a time in our history where a program was introduced, we'll call it feminism, and it made women believe that there was some program that said men and women weren't equal, and that things in the workplace and pay and women be able to work and not have to be mothers and all this kind of stuff was worshipped and made out of the reach of women, all for a purpose, which made women desire and feel they needed the masculine role, which has done a lot of damage to our society. At least in my perspective, and a common perspective I see, it has taken the divine feminine out of a lot of women and made the societal norm to be women pursuing masculine characteristics. that means having a job, being out in the workforce, being the creator, being the builder, a lot of things that are typically a masculine characteristic. I'm not saying women can't do this, but it created an imbalance that women had to take on the characteristics of men. And it created an imbalance in men. And men had to take on the characteristics of the feminine because everything's a balance. So if you have women entering into society that want to express themselves as a higher ratio of masculine, it makes men have to respond in an equal percentage of the feminine, or else there's no balance, and then it becomes clashing. So can you imagine the amount of confusion that's now in place due to something like feminism? And yeah, it may trigger you, and it may see that I'm attacking women's rights to be masculine, but it's never discussed that way. I mean, women's rights to be masculine and power. We're not actually having a power struggle here. Men have their power, women have their power in very different ways. And when one's trying to be the other, it confuses everybody and it pisses them off, and it's like a psychological mess because we don't know where we fit. It's done on purpose. It's kind of like to mess up our brain. It's like people are confused about their sexuality or their actual masculine or feminine now, and then they're wanting sex change operations and transgender and all this kind of stuff because it's a program, it's a software, and it's very carefully designed. Not to mention, let's not even get into some of the chemicals they put in our water and our food, etc., the hormones that basically confuse people about their gender and mess with their hormones and other things. So we have these programs that are running that aren't for our highest good, that have confused us greatly and created more struggle and more strife in humanity than anything ever before. You couldn't design a war. You couldn't design a program that's stronger than this one that's been insidiously designed to steal who we are and make us confused and then confuse others. There's a huge program. So what I'm seeing in the field right now, and my role as a healer, as a man, has become holding a container where I'm in my divine masculine as firmly as I can be, and working with women who have a desire to return to their divine feminine, and holding a container for their exploration of that. Now, what does that entail? That is very simple. It's about, first, a masculine can hold a big container, and that's his role as the rock in polarities. It doesn't mean that women can't hold a container. It's different. Men, in their fullest expression of divine masculine, are grounded and very attached to the earth, attached to physicality, attached to all these other things, which makes them more easily in a space of grounding. Now, this gets complicated because it may feel like I'm attacking feminine characteristics, but I'm not. I'm just saying, where does that polarity, where does that structure best fit based on our polarity? And yeah, we're so confused about gender or whatever. A woman can have this, a woman can be really masculine and carry this stuff. Great. But when I get to the bottom of it, women are angry. And it's rooted in a statement that's been stated for so long, and memes and other things. It's like, where have all the good men gone? Which is absolutely a description of this problem that's been created. Men aren't safe being men anymore. When women are over masculinated and their protector, and that protector is on guard, and he's a warrior, and the woman has muscles, and the woman has ability to defend herself, and all these things that have been programmed into a strong and powerful woman, a man has to fall back into his feminine. Otherwise, I keep using the term, it's a dick fight. I don't know. It's like two men using their equipment as swords. Who can be more masculine? Who can coerce the other into control and manipulation, and not holding space, not asking for surrender in a loving way. And the reason I use the word surrender is the divine feminine doesn't battle, coerce, manipulate, etc. She surrenders into the situation. She is emotional. She is the nature and all the four seasons and all the winds and storms and of emotion, because she freely expresses. But how many women do you know that freely express their emotion now? How many men do you know that freely express their emotion? I freely express my emotion. Is that because I'm bad or overly feminized? No. I've just been forced through this program into exploring my feminine side at a very deep level. And I know the feminine, and I'm stepping back into my masculine, and I see it every day. Women are scared to ask for it, but begging to be seen as a feminine and to accept the feminine characteristics. And how do you do that? You present as the masculine. I do, as a man. I present as the masculine. I hold a container for them. We have an exploration of why they need to protect themselves, why they need to put up all these barriers, why they need to manipulate or control, when really the true divine feminine is looking to be led. She's looking for a king. And yes, they can be an empress, and yes, they can be a queen and all this kind of stuff, but the true divine feminine is not about exerting power. It's about softness and nurturing and love and acceptance and being safe in their body by knowing themselves, knowing their boundaries, being able to say no, and by creating from that space of allowance, of acceptance, of expansion for them. Not trying to control or manipulate or drive a situation. I see it right now in dating. When you're trying to make a deep connection with a woman and there's a desire there for more, for depth, but she's been programmed by her own sisters, the other feminine, to be firm and direct and not soft, and be afraid of sexuality and be afraid of being in flow, because there's an agenda running. The man's going to do this and the man's going to do that, or this is code for whatever. I find I talk openly about sexuality because there's a huge healing power in our sexuality, and it's the true connection of man and woman. It's not about married and happily ever after. It's about going in and being able to meet a person deeply and open deeply to intimacy, not intimacy and sex, but in that sharing, in that vulnerability, there's a connection point of sharing energies, of holding space for each other, of returning to the polarity, merging polarities that is sexuality. But our society tells us that we must be married to do that. We must bond ourselves to another person for the rest of our lives before we can explore those sacred mysteries. There's a lot of people that run around outside marriage and are shamed by the fact that they're outside of marriage, that are doing that exploration, but they don't have the gifts, they don't have the tools, they don't have the awareness to make sexuality into the gift and the container that it is. So to shame all this societally has a purpose. And to say that you can only have this in your life by being bonded and committed to someone for the rest of your life, it's never the way the divine made this. Our connection between a man and a woman has a physical component. And to put that physical component behind a wall that locks people in. How many people are divorcing? How many people hate their marriage or these kind of things because there's a codependence and a non-unconditional love in that, which makes you a bad person or wrong or other things, which is crazy because it's not true. People are going into exploration of sexuality, connection, and then being angry afterwards because their expectations weren't met. Well, they never had a conversation on what the expectations were. The opening to sexuality between a man and a woman forces us to express our true divine program, because a woman has a womb, she's the creator, she has the receptacle. A man has the wand of light, he has the seed, and it's complete and total acceptance of who is who in those situations. And then there's movements between masculine and feminine. We shift and we metamorph during our connection, during our relationships, but the truest expression and the quickest way back to reset our nervous system, to reset our bodies, to do all the divine things is through the release that's part of sexuality. And so avoiding all this, waiting until we're bonded with someone, puts a huge amount of pressure behind this whole thing, when I really firmly believe we can't even know a person truly until their deepest vulnerability, which is sexual connection. And it's part of the process of men and women connecting at a deep level. And there needs to be so much work on training of sovereignty, of not accepting somebody's messiness and not staying bonded to someone afterwards. The most powerful thing you can ever do after being at deep intimacy with a person or sexuality is to say, I release you at the end. Give them back their freedom. It was never meant to be a bonding, tying act. Yes, you can have commitment with a person. Yes, women want this. Yes, all these things. It's not a try it and try somebody out and then walk away. No. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sadly, the Cinderella programming is everybody wants the one. They want a lifetime. Instead of exploring that partner, that attraction, that feeling with that person to its depth, seeing what gifts it gives you, and not expecting more, because that will disappoint you. And it's the root of all of our shame and guilt around marriage and connection of marriage, because no one person is going to meet us at all our levels. And if you're expecting that, it's the Cinderella story playing again. Everybody's got their flaws. Everybody's got their problem. But if you're attracted to a person, there's some vibrational lesson, learning, gift, whatever you want to call it, with that person. And if then you put all this Cinderella story of this and the checklists and all these kind of things that are part of being deep with another person, you make it impossible to connect. You make it behind so many rules, and then you can't find a person to connect with. You can't find your one. It's not about finding the one. It's about finding the one in that moment. It's about finding the one that will give you the highest spiritual growth, lesson, whatever you want to call it, in that moment. That person, if you're feeling attracted to them, there's a reason. And it's not for endless conversations and proving yourself and other things that are part of the dating process now. It's about, there's something to be found out with this person. And if we withhold ourselves and we put parts of deep relationship behind barriers, we create this. How many people have had 6 divorces now? I'm hardly meeting a person that hasn't been married at least twice. There's something wrong, fundamentally wrong, with binding yourself to someone before you even know them, waiting for sexuality until the wedding night afterwards, because that's pure and whatever. If you cannot physically and sexually connect with a person, you have no, I don't want to say right is the word that's coming up, but you don't have any reason. It's could be a lie, because most of us are lying. We're not truly vulnerable until we're in our sexuality or sexual release. They call it the petite mort, the orgasm, because that's the point when we are opened to God and we're at our purest. If you haven't seen a person in their sexuality and that release, you don't truly know that person, because we're all in shadows. There's stuff we want to hide. There's wounds we have trauma, we have all this kind of stuff. If you haven't seen a person in their fully realized trauma, which shows up in sexuality, you don't know that person. You do not know what's going to show up, what landmine's going to show up, etc. Sexuality is that great leveler. It's also the healer. You can't hide it in your fullest expression of pleasure. And we have far too little pleasure as far as I'm concerned. We suppress ourselves and we repress this thing that was meant and designed by God, by the divine, to reset our nervous system and give us all the medicines we need in our brain. Oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, all these beautiful things that normalize us and keep us healthy, keep us in self-love. Honestly, if we could find someone and create a connection enough with a person of our opposite polarity to who we are, and regularly explore sexuality at a connected level where you're eye gazing, you're feeling energy, using things in Tantra we call microcosmic orbit, making an energetic connection with them rather than using them to give ourselves pleasure, the world would change within a week, within a couple days. Because that positive vibe that's not repressed by shame, guilt, are you a good boy or a good girl, are you following the societal norm, all this kind of stuff will open us to our true divine nature. So I'm just going to say, we all have our divine polarity within us. And if you don't believe that, or you feel you're in the wrong body or whatever, we don't agree, and that's fine. The people that are really, truly ready to step into self-love are begging to return to their natural polarity, which they chose coming into this life. And you have a feminine body or you have a masculine body, whatever you have. And yes, there are people that are dual spirited or feel both and go back to our androgynous roots or whatever. But you can't play both sides of the fence. Sadly, it's so much easier to have masculine traits to protect yourself and all this kind of stuff and suppress your feminine traits and vice versa, or exhibit your feminine traits in a masculine body and be soft and be surrendered and have women hate you because you're not your true self-expression. So the choice is yours. Do you want to be more masculine and have to control and have to manipulate the world, or do you want to surrender into your feminine? Do you want to find places and people that can allow you to feel safe in that feminine and revered and respected? That's the work I do with women. I sit in my divine masculine. I show through consensual touch simple things like put my hand behind their heart, and they exhibit my masculine energy. Does that feel good? Listen to my tone. This is masculine voice. It's deep and it's normal. And I look in their eyes and I share and I smile. And thank you, Maya. Love hearing you. That's my tone. That's my masculine. My masculine is very soothing, and it's looking into your eyes, and it's giving you and holding you a container that you can surrender into your feminine. Not because I want surrendered feminine, it's because that's our natural state. And when you're back in your natural state, you can feel it. I'm in my natural state. I'm in a masculine. I have a masculine body. I have a mustache. I have a smile. Is it normal for a masculine to be happy and positive with a smile and feel safe for a woman? That's the example I bring. And I see so much loving response from women when they have that opportunity to see a real embodied masculine, and then they surrender into their softness, and they no longer have to control or manipulate or stay at arm's length or whatever, so that they can really feel their state. And that state is creative, is wondrous, it smiles, it's giggles, it's whatever. And I am blessed when I can hold that container and that person can start to smile, or when I put my hand in the middle of their back, their shoulders straighten up and their shoulders come back and they're no longer hunched over and they're no longer feeling small or feeling powerless or whatever because they're in a feminine body. Well, the feminine body is the most powerful thing you've ever experienced. I have had the wondrous opportunity to have my 3 children born through my ex-wife and watch that body in its power and in its grace to birth a human life, to gestate a baby and nurture and carry them. We need women. We need women that are creators, are emotional, are the powerful mothers of us all. There is no one better sex. There's equal and opposite because we need it. Without a man, there can't be the seed. Without a woman, there isn't the womb, the nurturing container. We need each other, and we need each other to be in our expressed, normal, non-confused polarity. And yes, if somebody wants to have the characteristics of the other or whatever, they'll maybe just draw in somebody, but don't complain that where have all the good men gone when there's good men everywhere, but they just don't feel safe around you because you're more powerful, you're stronger, you're more expressed, you're more direct, etc. about things, but you're not showing me feminine characteristics, so I cannot safely be told to return to my masculine and be my masculine. And that needs an invitation sometimes of the feminine. The feminine has a huge amount of power, whether you'd want to admit it or not. Men would go to war, would die for you, would die to have sex with a woman. This has been very shown throughout history. A king controlled by the queen, led by an affair, all these kinds of things. Men have created great acts of murder and mayhem all around just being in a woman's life and having that love, that respect of a woman. So you have great power, whether you realize it or not. Men have power. They're powerful in their muscles and strong, and yes, they can force and they can hurt and they can harm. All these kinds of things, which has been sadly overreacted, because I don't know a lot of men that hurt or harm. Wounded people hurt wounded or make wounded people, masculine or feminine. Just the way they manipulate your brain or manipulate you physically is different. So if you're longing for that masculine partner, if you're a woman, and if you're a masculine longing for that feminine partner as a woman, find somebody and give them an invitation. I'd love you to be in your feminine. I'd love to feel your softness. I'd love to feel your surrender. But I also want to see your consent, and I want to see your nose and you choosing, not giving up and being so soft that you have no definition. This is about us going back to what feels right, and it will feel good in your body. And I'm hoping if you're a feminine, you're receiving this, you're going to feel good in your body and you're going to feel light. Because if I become that rock, I become this auditorium for a woman to be fully self-expressed, I will receive a reward, and you will receive a reward. It's both ways. But for the masculine, it just begins with starting a safe container. With the feminine, it's about opening to surrender, opening to possibility, opening to love of yourself first, not another. Not you're complete by me loving you and I'm complete by you loving me. No, it's about loving yourself. Put your hand on your heart right here and right now and say, I love this. I want more of this in my life. I want to feel safe in my polarity. I don't want to be part of this program anymore. I am choosing right here and right now. Choose better. This smile is real because I found that in me. And I want you to find that in you, masculine or feminine. It's real. It's true. And there's no more fighting. There's just choosing and accepting and surrendering and being into your masculine, being into your feminine, and stop trying to be the other things because it's the very thing that's letting you down. You're going to be so surprised and you're going to be so excited and so happy. Smile. I see a heart from Maya, because you know it's true. You feel it in your heart, and it's like, we got to go back to that. Somebody's finally talking about it, and yeah, he's a masculine. Sorry, my throat's kind of weird, so my voice is a little high. I got a bunch of phlegm. But it's time. Make a choice. Invite that partner that you draw into your life to be more masculine. Open the communication channels and say, be direct with me. Tell me when I'm being masculine or not masculine. And can I tell you when you're being feminine and not feminine, or overly masculine, or whatever, or I'm being overly feminine? Because without that reflection of another and that depth of possibility, guess what? We all don't even know where we're screwing ourselves up all day long from the software and the program and the confusion that's been put in our brain. Women don't need to be masculine. Don't need to have the same and equivalent jobs and these other things. And there's a lot of skewed data in a lot of what was put out there to incite women into needing to be more masculine. Women need to be themselves. Women need to know that they can be the only ones that can be a mother. They need to know of their softness and the power of that softness. Because in a lot of ways, women are more powerful than any man. Because they have presence, they have light, they smile, they know how to deal with their emotions. But a man that's too masculine or too rebel without a cause or too aggressive or all these kind of things also causes harm. But we've had an opportunity as men to explore the feminine. Women have had an opportunity to explore the masculine. We now know it. We now know our polarity. So go back to the original polarity, the one that feels best. And then don't complain that there aren't masculine enough men out there for you. Invite them. Hey, I'd love you to come into my life. I would love to feel the divine masculine. I would love to be able to step in. Invite me into my surrender. And then cajole me every moment. Hey, this is cool. Let's try being ourselves. Let's see how that feels. Magic starts to happen. Just this live itself is an activation. So I love you all. I hope this resonates. And you're doing great. We're just needing to hear information like this so that we can return to our divine polarity, feel safe in our body, and smile. So put your hand in your heart, smile. I love you all. Have a good day.